Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And this week we are finally, for the first time this calendar year,
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
doing our gimmick of going back 25 years to celebrate the movies that came out 25 years ago. We did this all throughout last year because 1999 was such a celebrated movie year. And when we got to this year, the new calendar year, we said, hey, maybe we'll just continue that trend of looking back 25 years. There's still some interesting movies from the year 2000. And we said, yeah, we'll do that whenever we have no better plans for an episode. And as you said, a good sign for this year that here we are in April.
First time we're doing it.
And it's the first time we're going, let's do it.
Thanks a lot, Minecraft movie.
Yeah, I think it's we should probably just disclaimer that.
Let's just get this out.
We get it. This is apparently going to be the biggest movie of the year so far. It is
$160 million opening weekend.
a phenomenon with young people apparently.
Yeah.
But I will just say this. Last week, as we were hanging out with friends from church, and your son Ryan was playing a little bit of Minecraft and explaining this world that they all share apparently. And I've never felt older. I've never felt
Like more out of touch.
than anything. And that's when I was like, I just don't think this movie is going to be for me because it's going to be full of talk like this that I just don't understand as I'm watching him play this video game. And apparently it is like that.
Yeah.
I've heard so many reports of people going to see this movie and like there's a reference that they drop and people like cheer in the aisles because of
This
these
is
references.
the most sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. This is the most I've ever felt like not a part of movie culture. Like I had dinner with my oldest daughter Molly and two of her college friends on Friday after they had seen the movie, and they were able to have entire conversations about the movie, and me just sitting there like I literally don't know what they're talking about. And that never happens to me when it comes to movies.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess this is how some people felt going to see like Avengers Endgame when they said Avengers Assemble and people cheered.
I
and there's
guess.
some people in the audience just like, what?
it's wild.
And now I'm that guy.
I'm that guy
person.
too. So we just decided we're not going to tackle the Minecraft movie because it's just not for us.
No.
And that's fine. Obviously, it has an audience. So
Yeah.
good for it, I guess.
Yeah. And your son Ryan is going to see it this afternoon.
He's
I
there right
understand,
now.
with his friends. So maybe we'll have him pop on next week and just give us a short, young person's perspective on this.
It's what it's going to take because I have
On
no
this movie.
perspective on it. So
But 25 years ago, we were ourselves young people, Andy.
Yeah.
And of course, I said 25 years ago means the year 2000. And one of the movies that came out in the year 2000 was Snatch.
yeah.
Snatch is from writer-director Guy Ritchie.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote and directed Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Gun Barrels, which kind of put him on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't see that one. I, to this day, have not watched that one, in large part because I hear like it was very much like Snatch.
Yeah.
Snatch, he kind of like did that, and it got him a little more budget, a little more notoriety, and then he made Snatch, which was kind of a...
It walked so Snatch could run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, I kind of don't want to see the walking form. And I still like think about going back and watching it. I just haven't.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Snatch comes out.
Yeah.
I didn't catch this in theaters.
Me neither.
This is a movie that actually my older brother, who maybe had just started college when this came out, he graduated in 2000, so I don't remember when this movie came out. But I guess probably in college because he probably watched it on video.
Yeah.
Came to me and was like, hey, you need to watch this movie Snatch. And so, okay, my older brother, I'm going to look up to, he says, watch a movie. I watch a movie, and I watch it, and my initial take was, this movie's awesome.
Yeah.
And so Snatch, I should say, this is my choice for this week. We both take choices. I will, kind of spoilery say that I was debating between the two movies that we picked. You picked the other one I was thinking about, so lucky me.
Well, it really worked out good.
The two movies I most wanted to watch. But the thing that most stands out to me watching Snatch now, and it didn't take till now, but now when I watch it is, to me it was so original when I saw it, and now I look back and go, there is such clear influences from Scorsese and Tarantino
Oh, yeah.
all throughout this movie
Yeah.
that I just didn't even realize when I first watched it in 2000.
Right.
I'm sure that's something you probably picked up on immediately, being more of a fan of those guys back in that time.
I mean, but to be fair, everyone was ripping off Tarantino back then.
Yeah.
And Scorsese's just, his influence has been present in movies for 50 years now. So I don't hold it against Snatch, but yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. And I mean, to clarify, the influences from Scorsese are obviously the narration, the voiceover narration.
Oh, yeah.
The quick cuts.
Yep.
and the needle drop. Like there's not like a distinct soundtrack to this. It's all just songs that are previously known songs.
Yeah.
And then Tarantino is the dialogue. So much of his dialogue and kind of characters.
100%.
I mean, to the point that the opening conversation during the credits is just basically an homage to the Pulp Fiction, or not the Pulp Fiction, the Reservoir Dogs conversation at the diner.
Yep.
And like, I saw Reservoir Dogs after I saw Snatch, and like that's what I'm saying. Like now you watch it and go like, man, it is.
Oh yeah, it
is that.
I mean, you could probably almost say rip off in a way, but everyone was doing it.
Yeah, homage is the nice way to say rip off. It's like because I think he was aware of it. He wasn't like, no one's going to notice I'm doing this.
Oh no, he wasn't. I don't think he was trying to be sneaky.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, everybody was kind of doing it. And, and so I say that, and I say it still lovingly. It's kind of the same way I say like The Rock is Die Hard on Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because it is that doesn't mean I'm looking down on it. I love The Rock. It's one of my favorite Die Hards on something.
Yeah.
But a lot of movies were Tarantino or Scorsese mashed together, and this is one of the better versions of it.
I mean, all movies are kind of ripping off some other movie usually.
Yeah. And that is kind of always the funny thing about saying somebody's ripping off Tarantino, because Tarantino is one of the most...
Oh, he borrows from...
He talks about it. He consumes all the movies, and then he like...
takes the parts of those he likes and puts his own. Oh, yeah. He's very open about it. Scorsese's the same way. You watch any interviews with Scorsese, and he's like, when I was doing Goodfellas, I had this... it's usually some like old new wave French movie or something. But yeah, it's not... It's like we pick on movies sometimes for like ripping off other movies, but it happens all the time.
Yeah. So just... sort of brief summary of this movie, which is hard to summarize because so much is going on, but just that a stolen diamond becomes our thing that starts the action. A stolen diamond ends up connecting a bunch of different characters from Britain's sort of shady underground criminal world, and brings them all in an intertwined storyline over a couple of days.
Yep. And
it involves of course, the diamond thieves, the diamond sellers, these gangsters, underground boxers, and boxing. It's a wild movie. It is a wild movie. I do remember seeing the behind-the-scenes making of. Again, this movie came out prime times of like DVDs and special features.
The making of featurette.
Oh man, I love those. And,
me too.
Even though this was, as we said, he made Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Gun Barrels.
Two Smoking Barrels.
Two Smoking...
Just barrels.
Barrels,
yeah.
Okay. He made that, and then it's like he got a little more budget for this. It's still like a $10 million movie.
Yeah.
But
compared to...
Yeah, like you watch the making of, and they're like, hey, this is... I know people are thinking, oh, he's made it now. He's got Brad Pitt in his movie and Benicio del Toro. No, this is still really low budget. They're just both working like well below their usual...
Well below,
standards and rates.
Oh, yeah. Pitt was probably getting $20 million a movie back then.
Yeah. So it's kind of lower budget, even though it's got all this talent in it. And but I remember seeing Guy Ritchie say his goal for this movie was he didn't want any wasted seconds. He didn't want like one boring moment. Yeah. And I'm like, you can see it. This movie just moves.
Oh, and, I would say mission accomplished.
Like right down to, I always laugh at thinking about that when it's like the Dennis. What's his name? Dennis Farina's character has to go from New York to England, and it's like 5 quick cuts of him, like, stamping the passport, plane, landing. Like,
I love
he's here. Like, it's like 5 seconds he traveled, and it's like no wasted time. We just gotta, gotta get there. So, I appreciate that. But Andy, it's been a lot of me talking, so let me throw it to you. Like, do you enjoy Snatch?
Oh yeah. So I remember Snatch coming out, and it was a big deal. It was a big deal kind of like for movie nerds, I felt like. It wasn't, like for everyone, but I was trying to think. I just don't remember how I didn't see this in the theater. This has all the makings of something that I would have seen in the movie theater, and I just didn't. But I remember my biggest thing about Snatch is remembering like it almost had like that credibility of like you would see the poster of it like in dorm rooms.
Yeah.
And that might sound so ridiculous, but 25 years ago, that was a sign for how well a movie had kind of permeated the culture.
Wow, look at us.
Whoa. Whoa, we've been doing this for too long together. I felt like Snatch had that kind of credibility where it was like, again, 2000, there's the internet, but not in the form that it is now. Like if you were at a party or whatever, and you're like, hey, I like Snatch. Someone would be like, I do too. And all of a sudden, like, you've got a connection with someone and you could talk to them about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, revisiting it this week, I was like, this movie's kind of awesome. I know you'll get to this, but Pitt, holy cow. Like, this movie is just, like you said, it moves. You definitely see the influence, but I think one of the best compliments, like the Tarantino, Scorsese stuff, one of the best compliments I can give this movie is that it doesn't diminish the movie to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sitting there going, oh, this is just a Scorsese, Tarantino ripoff.
Yeah.
Still entertaining. Still so entertaining.
No, yeah, you're right, because Guy Ritchie has his own flair and
He
style.
does.
And so he takes those elements that we're familiar with, but he puts his own unique spin on it so that it feels like something still unique in its own way.
It absolutely does. I was watching this, and I have seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and I was thinking, like, it's kind of underrated in a way, or not talked about. Like, Guy Ritchie kind of is creating his own little world in movies. Like, he's carving out his own little spot. This, like you said, like British underground, like just these weird eccentric characters who, their accents and their mannerisms and everything about them is just kind of off and funny and unique. And it's like, it just kind of doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah. It's also unique in that I was thinking about, I guess you would say, I mean, the main character in this movie, I guess, is Turkish, played by Jason Statham.
I would say so.
This is my introduction to Jason Statham.
Absolutely.
And I still love the fact that he's playing like the most normal person in this movie.
Yeah.
He's not playing a typical Jason Statham guy. He's a boxing promoter, but he doesn't do any of the, BA stuff in this movie.
No. And he's really good.
He's really good.
Like, I like Jason Statham.
I do too.
Because I like these mindless action movies, but I feel like he's probably one that people maybe like they pick on him, or it's like, well, this dude can't act at all. He's really good in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he does a really good job.
He does. And yeah, I remember it being so jarring to me when I think the next movie that I saw him in, or saw like the previews for, was Jason Statham as the transporter. And I'm like, the dude from Snatch who doesn't do anything cool.
Now all of a sudden he's carrying an action movie, and now he's kind of having this almost little bit of a resurgence.
Yeah.
With these action movies coming out in theaters. But yeah, he's really good in this movie.
He is. Yeah. So he's probably what you'd call the lead character.
I would say he's like
movie.
yeah.
But this is a movie of just like stitching together a whole bunch of different characters where I'm like, nobody was going to get nominated from this movie. But I'm like, everybody could be nominated as supporting because all the characters are just supporting the story. There's hardly, I mean, again, yeah, Statham you would call, I guess, the main. The movie opens and closes with him. But if you totaled up the screen time, I don't know how long he's on screen.
Yeah, I don't know.
30 minutes of the movie, and that's probably a lot in a movie like this where, like all the characters have like 20 to 25 minutes of screen time, it feels like.
Yep. Yeah.
Benicio del Toro, I didn't even realize when we first picked both these movies how much commonality was in these movies, and one of them being Benicio del Toro's in both. The other one's Traffic, by the way. I guess I hadn't mentioned that. We'll talk about it next episode. But Del Toro was kind of a shock that I think I would say he was the second biggest name in the movie at the time. And
yeah, I would say so.
Getting, I guess, into the little spoilers of the plot, that he dies pretty early in the movie and kind of uneventfully. Like, he's just sitting in a room with his head covered. You don't even really see his face in the scene. And then he's shot, and then his character's just done. And you're like, oh, it kind of set the expectation for this movie of this dude will do anything in this movie, because Benicio del Toro was the second biggest star, and he's just out of the movie now.
Out of the movie.
So,
and like you said, like not in a big grand way either.
Yeah. So it was. I thought that was so cool. I was like,
I like it when actors are willing to do that.
Yeah, that he was willing to do it. That Guy Ritchie was willing to do it. That it just changed my calibration for what to expect in the movie. And I love when you don't know what to expect in the movie.
It's always a smart trick to do if you can pull it off well, to kill someone off like that, because then it just opens up the movie to anything can happen.
Yeah. Brad Pitt. We'll just get to him right now.
Holy cow.
So my favorite bit of trivia, I'm going to go ahead and jump to this. Favorite bit of trivia, and again, I don't know how true this is, but it was in the IMDb trivia, so I'll roll with it, was that Brad Pitt, after seeing Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, wanted to work with Guy Ritchie. So he called Guy Ritchie and asked him, do you have a part for me in your new movie? And Guy Ritchie said, yeah. And, agreed to have him be in the movie. And then after hanging up, Guy Ritchie realized that he had given Pitt a part that didn't exist in his movie. Like he didn't actually have
Like,
a part.
now I have to come
so
up.
he kind of wrote in Mickey as part of it. And two things about that. One, it's so hard to imagine that there was a version of this script without Mickey in it because he's
weird.
so central
It's really weird, yeah.
to the story now. And the other thing is just that it made me wonder, like, does that happen more often than we would think in movies? That like,
Where like a
director
big star reaches out to
gets
someone?
a star and they're like, holy crap, I better reshape my movie and recraft it. And I bet it happens, and I bet it happens badly sometimes. And that's probably why we're like, what a weird movie in part for that person. But in this case, it made magic somehow.
It did. And I was trying to think back to where Pitt was in 2000.
So
he, you know,
just coming off a Fight Club.
Yeah.
Which
actually, though, like we talked about, it was a disappointment box office wise.
But it was significant for this sake because when he found out he's going to be playing a boxer in this movie, he's like, I just did Fight Club. I don't know if I wanted to be doing the fighting guy again. But the movie, he wanted to work with Guy Ritchie enough that he said he'd do it. And when you watch it now, you're like, you don't watch it and go, oh, this is just like his Fight Club.
You don't think
part.
about it at
the
all.
The movies are so different.
So
that
different.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, he was not in danger of getting typecast as the fighting guy.
And just in case, he just comes up with the craziest accent in the world in this movie.
Which also learned from the trivia was another fun bit that apparently critics were critical of the inability to understand the characters in Lock, Stock. And so Guy Ritchie was kind of poking fun at it by saying, I'm going to make a character that nobody can understand, even the characters in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty funny.
Pitt's just on fire in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see, like I said, you know, even though Fight Club was a disappointment, I guess, it still had, like, people talked about it. You know, and Brad Pitt was...
Talk about seeing posters in dorm rooms.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like Brad Pitt was in some kind of slump necessarily. I mean, you know, it was like late 90s is also like Meet Joe Black. I mean, there was some misses. But for him to just come aboard this $10 million movie and be willing to be, you know, he didn't come in and take it over.
Right.
And it was like, well, now that I'm here, you know, all this screen time now is coming on me. Like, he very much is willing to just be like, yeah, I'm just in with the rest of these guys in this movie.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's hard to tell because, again, how quick the movie moves. But
Yeah.
it's probably 20 minutes into the movie before he even shows up.
Yeah. And he doesn't take over as far as just, you know, now this is a Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really cool move on his part. And I wanted to ask and like talk this through, like probably just a smart move for his career.
Yeah.
Like just to show like, hey, I'm willing to just like, I just want to be in good movies. You know, maybe, I don't know if he had like a reputation of having like an ego or whatever. I don't remember that, but you know, maybe just a smart move. I kind of wish it would happen more now where just big stars would be willing to be like, yeah, I'll take a smaller part in this movie.
It was definitely, I think he liked taking parts that went against the kind of Hollywood persona that he had.
Yeah.
That wasn't his own fault.
That
You know,
never
it's
necessarily
like
wanted.
Brad Pitt's just such this like handsome,
Pretty
clean,
boy.
you know, pretty guy. And I think he liked the idea of taking roles like this where he's like, I'm playing this gypsy, mumbling, dirty, tattoo-covered guy.
Yeah.
That's nothing like what people are expecting of me. And I think he probably, I don't think he's like Mickey in real life, but I'm just saying like him in real life probably enjoys that way more than the flip side of it.
Absolutely. And it's just where the audience is the one who wins because he's just a joy to watch in this movie.
Yeah, there's a couple of things about this character that's so great. One is he's so funny. We already said that.
Yeah.
His ability to talk in that strange, as Turkish as the narrator says, it's not quite English, it's not quite Irish. It's just pikey.
Yeah.
Like it's but then when he finally, the first time he fights, he's fighting Gorgeous George, you know, in the pikey camp, and George is just twice his size, and he's just punching him and roughing him up, but Brad Pitt's just like continuing to stretch and get ready for the fight while he's getting beat up and talking trash to him.
It's unreal.
And finally throws his first punch, and boom, fight's over. Just one punch knocks you out, and you're like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Brad Pitt is just effortlessly cool.
He is.
And
just really, really funny.
Yeah.
Like he's so funny. He really comes across, you know, as a guy that like I shouldn't say never, but like he just doesn't take himself that seriously. He has no problem just doing this kind of stuff, and it's a real treat, like I said.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was gonna say is I mentioned in our tribute to Val Kilmer podcast that I thought Val Kilmer at the end of Ghost in the Darkness, at that point in time, I was like, that's the coolest anybody's ever looked. You know, there's a common theme of fire. I don't know, fire is always cool, but like the fire behind him and he's covered in dirt and mud. Very similarly, the scene where they burn the trailer with Brad Pitt's mom in it, and the guys are holding them back, but it's a nighttime shot and it just zooms in on Brad's face. There's fire.
It's really
dark and dirty, and he's just staring, glaring, simmering into the camera. And I'm like, that's the coolest anybody's ever looked.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
and Pitt's awesome.
Yeah, man. So there's just so much humor, so much great little interactions in this.
Yeah,
I don't want to go through all of them, but I mean, Tyrone driving the car and just being terrible at it.
Oh my gosh.
When he looks over, they're like, "What's wrong with the space over there in front of the bookies?" And he's like, "It's too tight." And they're like, "You could land a jumbo jet in that thing." It's just
so good.
And then he backs into the van. It was a funny angle. It's behind you, Tyrone. Anytime you go in reverse, things come from behind you.
That's so good.
It's so funny.
And that's what I'm saying too, like about Guy Ritchie, like just to find this humor that he finds in this movie, it's not a humor you could easily put a label on.
Yeah.
It's not slapstick, it's not raunchy. Like there's all these different types of humor. Yeah. And this is just like a different kind of funny than I've seen in a really, really long time.
Yeah. And it probably comes from just being British. British people have just a different quirky sense of humor. Yeah. And sometimes I watch British stuff and I'm like, it's just that humor's not for me. But sometimes you watch this and go like,
this is hilarious.
This is hilarious, and it's different, and it's really funny. He's a little bit. So we said clearly, you've got the influences of Scorsese and Tarantino. He's a little bit to me also sort of the British Michael Bay. Like he loves the visual and the spectacle and doing the wild things. I mean, right from the beginning, that heist when suddenly zoom in and spin the camera and all of that. Like he loves his little camera tricks. And I luckily, I think because it was lower budget, this one didn't get too wild with it. I do think in some of his later movies,
because that's a criticism.
He loves to get stylistic,
and it almost is like kind of manic in a way. And
where you can definitely watch a movie and go, "This is Guy Ritchie. This is a Guy Ritchie film."
Oh yeah, he's got his own
up on those. I do love. I have a real love for the opening that introduces all the characters and does the freeze frame colorization.
I like it too.
I'm not gonna lie, that impacted me for a long time. Where I'd make like little student things in college stuff, and I'd rip that off all the time. Like you got to like do the freeze frame title card.
Oh yeah,
different color. That's I don't know. Like I'm sure that's happened in other things, but that's the movie that like I remember it from most distinctly. And to this day, I'm like, that's my favorite way of doing that.
I'm a real sucker for that too. I don't even know why. Yeah. I don't know. It just is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to find the right music to it. It's just kind of a little kinetic and cool. Yep. And it works.
It does work. It works. And it works really well in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does have a good villain in Bricktop who looks like old Austin Powers.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a little like off-putting at first. Like this is an interesting choice for the main big villain of this movie, but he's menacing.
He really is.
And you like rooting against him.
He does a good job.
I love the final fights at the end.
Yeah.
Well, you get the two fights with Brad Pitt. One, he's supposed to throw a fight.
Yeah.
And the guy headbutts him. It just annoys him. So he throws one punch and accidentally knocks the guy out. And you get the great Pitt like.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That is so good. Yeah.
Yep. You can tell he didn't mean to knock the guy out because he's still like staying loose. Like, all right, when he gets up,
and
he's not getting up. Uh-oh.
Oops. Yeah, Pitt's so good right there. He's so good.
But then you get the final fight where he's just super hungover and barely with it, or at least that's the presentation he's giving. And that fight's awesome too, because
it is.
You could tell he could knock this guy out right away, but he's got to last until the fourth and then take a dive. So he just kind of has to like take a beating, waiting for it. And to me, that's always like a really cool thing for a character to do is be like, I'm so tough, I can just like sit here and take the beating and, just take it basically because I'm that tough.
This movie just does a lot of things where, like, not to be like vague or anything, but you're just like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, and that's probably why it had that, like I was talking about earlier, kind of like that credibility amongst like 20-year-olds, it's like, this movie's just cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just does a lot of things right and cool, and everybody in it like is cool, and Pitt especially, and yeah.
Yeah. So that's sort of summary. I should throw out more things. Vinnie Jones is awesome in it.
Yeah, he is.
Everyone
is.
Yeah.
Everyone's awesome in this movie.
Yeah. There's nobody that feels misplaced or miscast.
Nope.
Stephen Graham, who plays Turkish's sidekick, Tommy, who's hilarious in this. I love that he's gone on to have like a real serious career. I mean, he was like in The Irishman going toe to toe with these heavyweights.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's little Tommy from Snatch. Look at him now. Just really really made it. But so did just want to throw out, we said $10 million budget. Worldwide it grossed $83.5 million.
Saw that.
So a hit.
So that was one thing I was wrong about in my mind. I thought this was just like a movie that really never found its audience initially until like the DVD type stuff. But I mean, that's great.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's one of those, I want to say, I'm talking off the top of my head now, so I could be wrong. That was like 30 million in the US and Canada. So, not huge numbers here. But yeah, I bet, with DVD sales, this movie went well over. Yeah. Which is one of those things, we kind of talked about this with like M. Night Shyamalan. Guy Ritchie had sort of a low stretch after this, where he struggled to like have that next hit. Some of his next movies weren't so good, but he just kept getting work because of his early movies. His early stuff, were like the proof of concept, and like nobody's willing to give up on him just yet.
Yep.
So this had a 74% rating from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that. Critics.
This is the type of movie critics tend to not love, and I think 74 is actually pretty high for a movie like this.
Not bad at all, really.
Audiences, though, were 93%. That makes more sense. Yeah, like
that makes way more sense.
I've never heard anyone that watched Snatch and goes, I don't like Snatch.
Yeah.
It's too fun. How can you not?
It's just too fun,
Yeah. All right. I don't think, I was thinking about it, do we continue our Uncle Chip theme? And I was like, maybe we should just stick to 2025 movies.
Let's do that. We'll do that.
It'd be too weird to try to put him in 2000s movies.
Yeah, fair enough. I like it.
So we'll skip that gimmick. But Andy, any other last thoughts about Snatch?
No, it's just, it's really fun. And like I said, the biggest thing that jumped out to me rewatching it for the first time in a long time, I think we should say that too. I probably hadn't watched this movie all the way through in 15 years, I bet. Is just like I said, that Guy Ritchie and everyone involved in this movie really managed, even though there's influences like we've talked about, they really managed to carve out their own just weird, unique world. And I don't know, I kind of wish Guy Ritchie would, I'm not saying like make a Snatch sequel or anything, but like revisit this type of thing. Like what's his last movie?
I was trying to remember what his last film was. He had a couple come out. He made the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and
that was
and he made another
bomb.
one that I want to say had like Josh Hartnett in it that I didn't see, and I can't remember what it's called. Operation something.
Yeah.
He made The Gentleman, which was probably the closest he's done to Snatch since Snatch came out.
Yep.
And that was a movie I enjoyed. It didn't do as well as like Snatch.
Yeah.
It did end up having a Netflix like spinoff show starring Theo James from The Monkey.
Yeah.
And so I haven't watched it, but I kind of wanted to because I like Theo James and I like Guy Ritchie and all of that. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I think we're also just living in different times, like movies like Snatch would become the big hits of 2000, but I don't know if a movie like Snatch
I don't know. I don't know either. But no, I mean, my closing thoughts are just this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And just, like I said, what a treat it was to revisit this Pitt performance.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is right around the time where I've said, like, Pitt became my guy and has been my guy. Like, this is right around Fight Club, and this is, like, what's
Where's this ranked for you as far as Pitt is concerned? Do you know? Do you have anything off the top of your head?
It's a great question. If I did, like, a Pitt Mount Rushmore, I think this probably is on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's, I think, very high praise. So, people, if you haven't seen Snatch,
check it out. It's worth watching. Snatch. It holds up really well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us for our discussion of Snatch. Join us very soon for our
Very
discussion
soon.
of Traffic.
Traffic, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you then.